On today's political figure episode, we're back in Kentucky. Again, because Kentucky residents seem to have a top-tier ability to elect bottom-tier politicians. And it doesn't Comer much more bottom-tier than James Comer. James Comer was born August 19th, 1972 in Carthage, Tennessee. He grew up in Monroe County, Kentucky, graduated from Monroe County High School in 1990 before going on to get his bullshit in agriculture from Western Kentucky University in 1993. After college, he started a 2,300-acre farm, a cattle company, and served as the director of a bank. Then in 2000, he was elected to the Kentucky State House of Representatives and served as Kentucky's Commissioner of Agriculture. During this time, he was instrumental in getting commercial hemp farming legalized in Kentucky, going as far as suing the DEA to get Kentucky's first shipment of hemp seeds. Anybody who's willing to sue the DEA or in any way, shape, or form make their life miserable gets a little bit of respect from me right off the bat. But don't worry, he squanders that quickly. 2015, he ran for governor and lost. So in 2016, he decided to run for the United States House of Representatives in Kentucky's 1st District. Sadly, it was at that point Kentucky decided it was time to subject us all to James. To his credit, in the 8 years he's been in Congress, because I try to be fair on these things, I found two good-ish things that he's done. He was the original co-sponsor of the Hemp Farming Act, which legalized hemp nationwide and took off government restrictions on farming it, because he really wants to grow hemp, I guess. But that's good. It is ridiculous that hemp has been so demonized, and I applaud him for that. He also supports declassifying marijuana as a Schedule I narcotic, but does not support legalizing medical marijuana nationwide, and also does not support recreational marijuana, so we had to put a caveat on this one, too. Then during COVID, he worked on the Bipartisan Child Nutrition Response Act, which made sure that kids who were out of school because schools were closed were still entitled to free lunches. So that was awesome. Definitely no-brainer legislation, and I applaud him for that as well. But it all kind of goes downhill from there. He hates women, which is unsurprising. He's very anti-women's health care and bodily autonomy. He hates immigrants, opposing amnesty and supporting building a pointless wall. He hates the gays and everything he associates with that. He vocally opposes gay marriage, voted against the Respect for Marriage Act, and he voted against the Equality Act because he thinks it should be legal to discriminate against you for your orientation or identity. He said Obama's economic policies were a disaster in the making, and then immediately turned around and voted for the Tax Cuts and Job Act, which added $1.5 trillion to the national debt, because fiscally conservative means too fucking illiterate to balance a checkbook, let alone a national budget. He also strongly opposes paid parental leave for federal employees because for some reason the party of family values never values family. He's also a little narcissistic because in the process of creating a agriculture fellowship program with Murray State University, you know, the fellowship program isn't so bad, but he called it Congressman James Comer Congressional Agriculture Fellowship Program. Because just in case you didn't know he's a congressman, James Comer is a congressman. If you don't believe him, look at his fellowship program. It says right there in the title, he's a congressman who does stuff congressionally. Not very much, because he's part of the most ineffective Congress in U.S. history, but still. But he has wasted the majority of his time and our money on the Oversight and Accountability Committee trying to impeach Joe Biden for stuff he himself is doing. Because once again, if Republicans didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. So he spent a bunch of time trying to probe Joe Biden, which is weird because he says he doesn't believe in being gay. And then when he was asked if they found anything that Biden's done that's illegal after all of the time that he spent probing him, he's like, he's done stuff like that's sort of unethical and probably should be illegal. They're like, okay, like what? He's like, well, you mishandled them classified documents that one time. So he was asked, well, then do you believe that Trump's mishandling of classified documents should be investigated and prosecuted or should be illegal? He's like, no, that was different because he put them in his bathroom and he locked the door so they were, perfectly safe. No joke. That was literally his argument. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's what he fucking said. Okay, so anything else? Like, yeah, the Biden family has this shell company that makes it hard to see what they're doing with some of their money and stuff. I mean, kind of like the shell company that you have. The one that ethics experts say you were supposed to disclose on your financial documents but didn't. The one you started right before you became a congressman. The one you own with one of your biggest campaign donors that you lied and said that when you founded it, he wasn't your campaign donor, but he'd actually been your campaign donor since 2010. The one that's increased like tenfold in value since you became a congressman, but nobody's really sure why. Okay, so it's good to know that you know all about that kind of unethical stuff so you can probe Biden for being unethical for doing that stuff you're doing. But as big of a piece of trash as James Comer is, thankfully congressmen are up for election every 2 years, which means his seat is up for grabs again this November. And he's got a great challenger named Erin Marshall, who said she was inspired to run this year because of Comer and the GOP's attack on women's rights. So if Kentucky fries Comer this election, they've got a great option to replace him with something healthier for our democracy and our country.